They were thinking about these questions about gender and sexuality in really dynamic ways. It's not a dynamic way to force someone into becoming a eunuch. It's not a dynamic way of thinking. Throughout its history, with its own moments of reticence and attacks as well. Paul. There is evidence of all kinds of people across the LGBTQ plus spectrum in Betancourt's research, but we'll start with same-sex attraction. Of course there is going to be same-sex attraction. If any, just to debunk, I guess, some extremists on the other side, although it's very minority, I guess, in my personal experience. But if anyone says the gays were invented in the 80s or the 50s, they're wrong, okay? Let's just debunk them too. Of course, same-sex attracted people have always existed. Does anyone even say that they didn't exist? I don't know. You tell me, because maybe once I read an idiot saying that. No, gay people, they didn't exist in the medieval period. Maybe once, and I blocked him because he was stupid. I don't think that's the main discourse item of a lot of these speakers out there, whether you like them or not. There is a lot of interesting evidence in the medieval world that demonstrates just how common same-gender intimacies were, and these various forms of queer relations were. And once again, queer is a word we need to define in the medieval context. Depends what you mean. That we often tend to assume would not have existed. No, they did exist. Who's we? Who's we? If you create an item of discussion, an argument that no one is saying, and then you debunk it, you're debunking a straw man or an idiot. A single idiot. But because this is all that, we need to discuss this massive misinformation campaign, who assumes that same-sex attracted people, gay, lesbians, didn't exist in the Middle Ages? Of course they did. They just had to hide it. That's the truth. And if they did exist, they came about with a lot of heavy-handed panic. John Boswell, who was a historian at Yale, very famously made the argument that Byzantium had a modern equivalent to same-sex unions. Because there was this rite known as the brother-making rite that has nothing to do with same-sex marriage at all, where two men could be joined, a spiritual brotherhood. They could share the same bed, live together. This has been oftentimes described as a sort of queer space for queer lives to exist. The reality is, I have actually tackled this. In fact, let me go into the details on this, but just to put it there for a too long didn't read before I go into the details of this concept, is that no, it's not the same as same-sex marriage. However, incidents of same-sex marriage did exist in the past. It's not necessarily something that never existed in the past. It was extremely rare, but this one specifically was not meant to be. It was literally a brother-making rite. It's just that obviously, if you are gay and you've got your lover who is also gay, but you're hiding it, well, this is a fantastic opportunity in the medieval context to be like, you know what, let's say that we are really good brothers and let's do this so we get some rights, we get some succession rights, we can live together and share a house, but then in reality, without telling other people, then they would basically be living into a same-sex relationship. Of course it happened, and in fact, some church authorities complain about it. So it did happen. But it doesn't mean that it would be similar in any way, shape, or form to same-sex marriage the way it is today. Completely different kettle of fish, apples and pears. Yeah, there we go. As you can see, the Vatican archives shows otherwise. Roland says, in fact, you even have church fathers in later centuries attacking this rite specifically because it leads to some unsavory practice. Exactly. So that actually proves my point, not yours. Paul says he's also found art writings that speak to same-sex coupling in monasteries. Roland, we see a lot of interesting evidence within monastic communities, religious same-sex communities in the Middle Ages. It's an insane way to put it, where you have this articulation that two monks might fall in love with each other and they might begin to have sex.